We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, 𝗵𝗂𝗋𝗵𝗂. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, TechTarget, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, 𝗵𝗂𝗋𝗵𝗂. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, TechTarget, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, 𝗶𝗍𝗃. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, TechTarget, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Development Council, your gateway. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, 𝗶𝗍𝗃. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, TechTarget, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices.
Welcome everyone to the boot camp, which is scheduled for today. And thank you so much for joining. We'll be starting the session now. Please allow me a minute so I can quickly share my screen and we can start. And meanwhile, I would like to request you all to please drop your locations in the chat box. We would love to see where you all are watching this session from. It's always great to see how global people is joining us across the world, right? So please drop your locations in the chat box. And here we go. I hope you all can see my slide. Perfect. Thank you so much for joining again. I would love to give you all a very warm welcome to our series, GSDC Certified Learning, Intelligent Enterprises Scaling AI for Business Impact, with a theme that is exploring how organization can leverage AI, automation, and data-driven intelligence to accelerate innovation, improve decision-making, and drive sustainable growth. My name is Preetham. I'll be your session moderator today, so feel free to use the chat box in case if you have any query, any question, and I'm very happy to assist you all. So, what makes our session more exciting? As you can see, we have this incredible panel of AI experts lined up for this entire week, which includes today's bootcamp as well, right? So, please do join us for the rest of the sessions as well. From 22nd till 26th, we have scheduled this series for all of you with the same time slot that you have joined right now, which is 9:30 p.m. Singapore, 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, and 8:30 a.m. Central. So please do join us using the same registration link for all the rest of the sessions as well. And a quick introduction to our hosting organization, those who have joined us for the first time, we known as Global Skill Development Council, we're vendor agnostic, vendor neutral, which means you are completely independent certification body. And I'm very proud to inform you all that we're accredited by 𝗵𝗂𝗍𝗂 and supported by World Press, which is our official media partner. So they cover all our events and press releases. Also, we have 100 plus certification portfolio with us. That means we offer certification in different domains. Also, we have 500 plus subject matter experts. Those are the industry experts. So they help us with all our programs, exams, and all the deliverables. Also, we have certified more than 250,000 professionals worldwide. Also, we have 100 plus authorized training partners. So a big thanks to all our training partners across the regions and those who have joined us through our training partner channel. In case if you're looking for any training program for yourself, feel free to reach out to our training partners to have further inquiries. You will find their contact details shortly in the chat box. Also, we are in association with 1,000 plus multinational corporates, 500 Fortune companies, and 50 plus universities across the world. And a quick introduction to our lifelong learning initiative platform, which we have introduced a few months back in the GSDC, which is GSDC AI Studio, where you'll be getting 100 plus live sessions with global experts, which is, of course, a 4 daily session, which is 45 minutes of live and impact sessions along with the hands-on learning, which means you'll be getting a platform where you can implement all the things that you have learned in that particular session, and all your questions and doubts will be resolved instantly with the help of our subject matter experts and our industry leaders. So this training is aligned with industry standards for the job ready skills, and I believe this is amazing opportunity to learn from the AI leaders around the globe. And in case if you're wondering how you can access to GSDC AI Studio, kindly get in touch with the learning advisors for further information. And before we begin, I want to let you all know that this isn't just a regular session. Right now, through our streaming partner Restream, we are broadcasting this session live across 30 plus social media platforms simultaneously, which includes YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and many more, as you can see on the screen. That means while a few of us are here on the Zoom call, the session is actually reaching our global followers network of over 80,000 plus people across the world. So in real time, so to a speaker, you are not addressing a small room today, you are delivering to worldwide audience. Let's give them something memorable today, right? So without any further delay, I would love to introduce our today's speaker, 𝗕𝗏𝗃. So he has already delivered session in the GSDC, and those who have joined his first session today would love to introduce more about him. So 𝗕𝗏 is a globally recognized AI strategist, marketing leader, and international speaker. Over 23 years of experience in digital transformation and global marketing. He's a based out of Singapore. For the past 32 years, he has shared his expertise across more than 20 countries. As Assistant General Manager and AI Architect at Nextech, 𝗕𝗏 specializes in building AI systems that combine strategic judgment with practical execution. A valued GSDC speaker, he has previously delivered insightful sessions and continues to help professionals harness AI for real-world business impact. So today we'll be covering GSDC Bootcamp, Advanced Prompt Engineering with Claude, and Leading AI Tool. Thank you so much, Keen, for joining us. It's really looking forward to your session today. You can have the hand of the mic now. The virtual stage is all yours. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Pritam, and thanks for everybody who's online. I do hope that you will participate for those who are here in the chat so that we can actually deal with some real issues and also make it much more worthwhile for those who are joining the program. If you give me your ideas and your feedback in the chat, that will be very, very helpful to make it much more meaningful for you. So today's topic is generate executive grade results with AI tools. And this is something that I've been recently teaching quite often. A lot of people think they know how to use AI very well, but once you talk to them, you realize that there's a lot of misunderstandings and also misconceptions about the nature of AI and how you engage with it so that you can get the best results possible. So that's what we're going to look at a little bit today. And we're going to use some of your examples if you provide them in the chat box. And let's get started. As she said, I've actually been in Asia for more than 30 years. I'm originally from the United States, but I came to Asia and fell in love with traveling the world. I've actually been traveling all over the world. I've been to Africa, Dubai, all over Asia itself, to Europe. I've been to so many different countries and met so many different people around the world. And I love the opportunity to travel and also to experience the cuisines and food in different places as well. I tend to be a person who jumps very quickly into new technologies. Ever since I was a young teenager, I've always jumped in to learn about basically computers and AI trends that have happened throughout the different years that I've been doing this. And AI has been something that's very, very different from everything else that's come before. And it's really changing a lot of things that we're doing in the world today. It's changing a lot of people's jobs. And it's even replacing some people. I always say that AI isn't going to replace you, but it's the people using AI that will replace you. So hopefully tonight, you'll be one of those who are using it so that you stay ahead of the trend. When people ask me which large language models I use, actually, I use all four of these and as well as many others. But these are my big four. ChatGPT, Gemini, which is made by Google, Claude, and then also Perplexity. And they each have different strengths. And from time to time, their abilities and their strengths will actually leapfrog each other so that there's one at the top for this. Next week, it may be someone else. And so I'm basically platform agnostic. In other words, I can do things on all the platforms quite equally so that whichever one is the best at the time, I can take advantage of that. I do use paid subscriptions as well. Depending on the platform, if you are using only a free subscription, ChatGPT is probably one of the most capable at the free tier. If you have a Google Workspace account or a Gmail account, you might have a Gemini access as well. Claude and Perplexity are additional platforms that you can also use.
Hi, Ken. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. In case if you're sharing your slides, we are not able to see it.
Oh, I maybe forgot to share.
No problem.
Let me share. Okay, let me just. So going back to the big four is actually where I'm starting anyway. So these are the four: ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and Perplexity. And I actually use all four of them. You can see the links to actually access these. They all have free tiers that you can use. So you might want to take a screenshot or a snapshot of the screen so you can see how to access these different platforms. But these are what I call the big four, because they're probably the most popular used in the AI trend setting today. I always say that anyone can be good with AI, but when everyone can be good, good is not good enough anymore, because that means everybody's at the same level and you don't rise up to be better. So today we're going to look at some ideas of how you can get better results from ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or even Perplexity. And these methods that we're going to look at actually work on all four platforms. The struggle is that no one can keep up with AI. It's constantly changing. Actually, if you go look online, there's more than 2 million different AI platforms in the world today. And because there are so many of them have special use cases, but the predominant four are those I mentioned earlier. But in order to protect yourself, my suggestion is you use more than one platform, because sometimes different platforms will have different strengths, and also some platform may not be available. And if you're only depending on that one platform, you actually have a possibility of, when the platform goes down or something might happen, that you're locked out of the ability to use AI. I don't think that AI should replace your thinking. It should help you think faster, think more clearly, think deeper, and also give you more informed decisions. For those of you who are online at the moment, what are some things that you pay other people to do for you? Maybe you can just chat in the chat box and tell us what are things that you actually pay someone else to do. It could be write emails. You might have a copywriter. You might have a video editor. You might have someone who's doing automation. Thank you for that in the chat. You might have someone who's doing video posting on social media. You might be paying different people to do different things for you. And in fact, if that skill is task-oriented, AI can probably do it for you. AI is going to take over tasks and manage the things that are basically manual processes, are things that are time-consuming. But at the same time, somebody needs to be an overseer, a director, to manage the content to make sure that it meets your quality control standards and it's also correct, because AI does have some issues. I see infographic design, content development. I see gather statistical data, create apps, summarizing content. These are all incredible opportunities to use AI. In fact, it was designed to process information. So these are incredible things that you can do with AI. And many of these things, you can create content or apps or summarize things a lot faster and also come up with new ideas that you might not have thought of normally. So I wanted to ask you, for those of you who are in the chat, I want to ask you, what level are you at when you think about AI? I've actually looked at 5 different layers of AI maturity. Level 1, you ask. In other words, you kind of treat AI like a Google search or a search engine. You ask it questions and you get answers. That's the first level. If you're at that level, type a 1 in the chat box. The second level is when you come up with prompts. In a prompt, you're actually telling the AI to take a specific role, you're giving it some context for the information, you're giving it some format for the results, and you're giving it the information that it needs in order to create the best possible answer. Some of you might be at level 3. In other words, when AI gives you content, you actually interact with the AI in order to improve the results, because you realize that the information it's given you isn't quite what you wanted. And so you have to have some interaction, some communication with the AI in order to get better results. Level 4 is actually you challenge the AI. You force it to prove itself. You ask it where it gets information from. You ask it to critique itself or to evaluate itself so that you come up with a better understanding of how it got the answers and challenge its thinking. That's level 4. And then level 5 is when you start to systemize things. In other words, I know that when I create an email, I might have a 7-step process. I might start with the header. I might start with who is my target audience. I might start with what is my purpose for the email. Where is that customer in the journey? And I come up with a system that I feed into the AI prompt so that it actually generates the best possible results for that customer and where they're at. I see quite a lot of people in the chat box are typing in 3 and 4. So you're somewhere in the middle. So actually, this is a great opportunity for you to move up a little bit higher. And we're going to look at how that works. Of course, probably many of you are starting to hear a lot about agentic AI. This is kind of the next stage. It moves beyond prompting from information to actually outcomes. So you basically tell the AI what is the result or the outcome that you desire, and the AI on its own will actually go out, find the information, process it, make decisions, figure out what it needs to get in order to give you the possible answer, and then delivers it to you. So it becomes somewhat autonomous. Instead of focusing on giving it instructions, you're giving it outcomes, and it delivers that to you. And this opens up a lot of incredible opportunities. Claude now has skill sets that you can put into Claude. They're basically prompts. So your prompting is still very important. But at the same time, when you give it skill sets, it can actually combine those skill sets to create a digital employee that maybe writes emails for you, might be a content creator, might be a video editor. All those things are possible in this new trend that everything is moving towards called agentic AI. You can build systems for your business. You can work around the clock. It can check emails. It can do things on its own scheduled. It can scale your output without hiring. It can make decisions faster sometimes than we can because it can process the information much, much faster. And it can do it automatically and focus on the outcome. I mean, just to give you an example of where this is heading, recently my company developed an AI cryptocurrency trader. It's actually agentic. It goes into the cryptocurrency platforms, sees what cryptocurrencies are going up, what's going down, what is the institutional interest in those, what is the news that's happening in the world, which ones have the highest potential to move up, move down, and it's processing all this information in a matter of minutes. So every 3 minutes it goes and it checks and it evaluates. It gives a confidence rating to its decisions. And based on the information I give it, it goes and does my trading for me automatically. At the same time, it also has a learning process. So it finds out that something is no longer working or that something is now a new trend that works very well. It can actually make decisions and give you its logic, its decision-making process, and go and make decisions on its own. So it becomes almost an autonomous trader that's trading exactly the way you want. And so it goes and does things based on my outcomes, my purpose, and manages everything by itself. That's the potential that agentic AI has in the world today. So let's kind of look at AI, what it is, what it's not. AI is an assistant. It can help you get more done faster and smarter. It can also research and analyze and find data and information for you quite easily. It's a content creator. It generates new ideas or ideas based on things that you have given it as context. It can be a business consultant letting you analyze strategies, possibilities, and recommendations to explore certain aspects that you might not think on your own. It's not magic. It doesn't replace your own thinking. It's not always correct. In fact, it quite often makes mistakes. And it's not a replacement for your judgment, but it moves you from being the one doing all the work to the one evaluating and doing the decision-making to produce the best quality work. So you're the person that is in charge of the AI. It's more of a management role than actually a person doing the work, which opens up a lot of possibilities to create better results for all of us. So there's some limitations for AI. Let me ask you a quick question. How many of you, when you prompt AI, accept the answer that it has given you as being correct? You automatically just take whatever it says as the correct answer. If that's you, type a 1 in the chat box. Whenever you ask AI a question, you automatically assume that it's correct. Is there anyone here that's there? If you can just respond in the chat box. 1, if that's true for you. 2, if it's not true. So 1, if it's true. 2, if it's not true. Okay, I see some people mostly take the first answer. Some people, it's not true. That's actually a very, very common mistake. A lot of people assume that the first answer is the best answer. But that's not the way AI works. AI is actually a business tool. They want to earn money. And they realize that if the AI takes too long to respond, a lot of people will give up and go on to something else. So they get upset, they get frustrated because the answer is not quick. So we'll often give them a quick answer instead of a quality answer. The second thing is the AI is based on average. Everything that is in its content tends to be based on the most popular answer, not necessarily the best answer. So you might ask it, is the sky blue? AI doesn't know what the sky is. It doesn't know what blue is, but it knows that most people will say that the sky is blue. But then there's other things that come into play. What time of the day? What is the weather? Where are you in the world? All of these things might affect Is there a haze, a volcanic eruption? Is it foggy? All these things, cloudy, all these things might affect the different color of the sky. But it will tell you the sky is blue because that's the most popular answer. So you have to give it a bit more context. You have to probe it, and you have to evaluate the answer that it gives you. Like someone said in the chat, Ben, it's kind of dangerous for people to expect the first answer to be the correct answer. And it's actually a struggle that is going to be a very big problem going into the future, because many of the young people entering the job market are very reliant on AI, but they don't have the experience and the knowledge to validate what AI is returning as an answer. Those of you who have been working for long periods of time, you have that discernment, that ability to validate, but the new people coming into the job are learning less and less about how to validate what AI gives them and to be able to tell whether that answer is correct or not. Like someone said, Ben, experience allows you to filter it. So what happens to those people who haven't gotten the experience? It becomes a bit of a difficult issue. They need to learn how to evaluate AI. AI has limited memory and forgets. How many of you have actually put something into AI and you told it, I want this and I want this. And after you've conversed with it a little bit, it seems to have completely forgotten what you told it in the beginning. If that has ever happened to you, type a 3 in the chat box. AI suddenly forgets what you told it to do, what you wanted. Yes, I see all those 3s. It happens to all of us. And sometimes the longer the conversation, the quicker it forgets. Sometimes there's more information and it has limited memory. One way to prevent this is to periodically remind the AI of those assumptions and conditions and requirements that you asked at the very beginning. I will often take my prompt and my context, and I will periodically replace it again in the chat box just to remind it that these are what I want. Because it's a very common problem. It does have memory that is limited, and sometimes it hits that limit and summarizes things and loses information. So this is another limitation of AI. A third limitation of AI is it often makes things up. How many of you have had AI give you fake or false information or wrong information? If that's true, type a 1 in the chat box if you've ever received bad information from AI. Okay, I see a lot of those also saying they've received bad information. It's actually quite common. AI is designed to give you an answer as quickly as possible. And if it doesn't know the answer, sometimes it makes them up so that it can give you a quick answer. And it is called hallucination. In other words, it generates a best guess, and sometimes that best guess is not correct. Because of the design of AI as a marketing tool, that they want to sell you the use of the AI, if the AI came back to you and said, I don't know, many people would be upset. So sometimes it actually creates low quality or even completely false information. Sometimes I've gone through and I've asked AI to give me the websites that it grabbed the information from. And I went to access the links that it gave me, and there was nothing there. They were all gone. There was no link that had that information. It completely made it up. So that is another limitation of AI. And that's where your experience, like Ben said, comes into play. Ben, you also asked about agentic. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But if you don't mind, we'll save that question for a little bit later. Another limitation of AI is that AI gives you the most common answer. The most common answer may not necessarily be the best answer, and it doesn't mean that it's the best answer for your situation. So many times AI's content will seem very, very general. Everything starts to sound the same because it was built using the internet, using Reddit, using YouTube videos, using other external sources of information. And not all of that information is quality information. And a lot of the things that are very commonly promoted may not actually be the correct information as well. So sometimes it gives you the most common answer instead of the best answer for your situation. Another limitation of AI, it prioritizes speed over quality. We kind of mentioned a little bit about that earlier. It's focused on giving you a quick answer and not necessarily a quality answer. To get a quality answer, you're going to have to do some things that we're going to talk about in a moment to help make the answer better for you and for your results. AI is trained on average, not necessarily the best resources. Many times, if you look at AI's training, it may not have, for example, if you're talking about marketing, there are many marketing gurus. Maybe your business uses 𝗚𝗏𝗄𝗏, or maybe your business uses a particular presentation or sales style like AIDA. There's different frameworks and different preferences that all of us have when we do our jobs. Some of you might have certain textbooks and certain resources that are your go-to resources that you use, but those are not necessarily the ones that AI will be using unless you specifically tell it to do so. I see some people testing mathematical issues, and often if you do give it more input, it does give you better answers because you're giving it better context. That is true. Limitations of AI. It also strokes your ego. Anyone here, type a 2 in the chat box if AI has ever told you that your idea was the best idea that you could have. It's the best that it's heard from today. It's top tier. It's better than most people. If you look at AI, depending on the platform, they often tend to stroke your ego. They will tell you that all the things that you're making up, the things that you're deciding are all the best. They're good because they want you to feel good. Why? Because if you feel good, you will use it more, and you will use more tokens, and you'll be paying for those tokens as time. So you have to take it with a grain of salt, and in fact, you have to challenge it. And I'll tell you some ways that you can challenge it in a few moments. So AI very much rewards clarity. Actually, the best skill for prompting is to communicate clearly. The better you can communicate exactly what you want, how you want it, and with every bit of detail and clarity so that it cannot misunderstand, will give you the best results. So if you use AI well, actually your communication skill will also improve. It's kind of like talking to an intern, and that person may be an expert, may have a PhD, but the clearer you communicate your business, your goals, your needs, your structure, your history, all of these things to the AI, so that it has the proper context, the better the answers it will receive. So in that case, communication becomes a very, very powerful tool. Those people who are the best at prompting are the clearest at communicating. I see Ben also saying he agrees with that 100%. And that's something that I believe is very, very important. The better we communicate, the better the results we're going to get. So let's play around a little bit. What's the most vague prompt you can think of at the moment? What is something that maybe in your early days you might have asked AI, or you might have seen someone ask AI that was very, very vague? It wasn't very clear. Anybody know of any questions like that? If you've heard of something that, or you can just think of something off the top of your head that's a very, very vague request to AI. Write an email to my HR for leave. Create a to-do app. Those are pretty bad. Anybody else? Any ideas? Give you just a moment. Anybody else have any ideas? If you have an idea, please share it in the chat box. Okay, let's just start with one of those then. Some of you are a little bit quiet. Why did the PM resign? Teach me math. These are all very, very big prompts. Let's do one that might be how to find a better job. Anyone else? Any other ideas? Maybe I'll just take the email, for example. If somebody asks, write an email to my HR for leave. I see someone saying simply typing a keyword without specifying what exactly is the goal. Okay, these are all good things. But what's the first thing that the AI needs to know when it writes an email? Maybe some of you can share in the chat box. What's the first thing an AI would need to know in order to write an email? Okay, context. Okay, who's the target? I see some other ideas coming up, but context, who's the target? What else would it need to know? If I'm asking for leave from my HR, what else does it need to know? Okay, a reason, that's a good one. Someone else. A subject, from when to when. The dates are very, very important, but that wasn't there. The duration of the leave, the period. Tone, the style, those are good answers as well. These are all what we call context. And the better the context, the better the answer. And so when we think about AI and writing prompts, we need to be as specific as possible. Number one, we want to make sure the prompt is not vague. The second thing is, what is the context? I like to go back to what I call the first principles. In order for it to give me the best answer, what does it need to know? In order to know that, what does it also need? And so think back as much as possible. So I go back, Socrates called this the principle of, called it first principles, going back until you find the root so that the context is clear. Another problem that a lot of people do is they don't give an examples. You might give an example of an email that was effective and say, pattern your email on this one. And then also you have to iterate. You have to keep playing with it until you get it right. So if you start with good impact, good input, then you give it proper context, you give it examples, and then you interact with it so that you can get better results, then you're going to get better output. So a bad prompt, let's look at some of the levels of prompting. Vague and lacks context. That's going to give you very generic answers that may not be effective for what you want to accomplish. A better prompt gives it more context and details. The more details that you can give it, the better context. If you know that you're entitled to X number of days of leave, if you know that there's someone that can cover your responsibilities during that period, there's a lot of other things that can be added in to give it better relevance and quality. We're going to talk in a little bit about the RACE prompt framework and how that works, RACE, or sometimes I use RACCE. I'll explain that a little bit later. Sometimes you can ask AI questions to fill gaps, to align it, to actually correct it when something is not what you want, to critique, to identify blind spots, gaps, or better angles, and continually to iterate, to keep challenging until you think you have the best possible answer. And this is something that sometimes takes more time than the initial prompt. If anybody else is already doing some of these things, you'll find that your prompting, sometimes it takes longer to correct and to fix what the AI gives you than to create the initial prompt, because the original prompt was a bad prompt. If you've had that experience, type a 4 in the chat box and just let me know. Sometimes you spent more time correcting than getting the information. Has anybody had that problem before? Yes, I see some people have said that you've had issues where you spent more time correcting than if you had just written it yourself from the very beginning. It's actually a quite common problem. We're going to look at this a little bit later and show you how you can do each of these things. I saw that the prompt evolution is interesting to some of you. And so we're going to go and look at how you can actually use this process to get better results. There's another rule that we need to think about is the 80-20 rule. I think probably almost everyone in any kind of position today has actually heard of this rule. That, excuse me, that it's not necessarily a lot of information, but focusing on the precise information, the focused context that will actually get you better results. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to write a novel in order to get the best response, but you zero in on what is the most important information and the most important focus that it needs. I see another one mentioned, the prepare plus the edit framework. There's actually a lot of frameworks. Some of those are more advanced. I'm not going to go so much into the frameworks today. I'm going to give everyone a basic framework and then give you some things to actually improve, which depending on whatever framework that you prefer to use. So this is the RACE framework. The RACE framework is actually a very good start, especially for someone who's been asking and needs to move up a little bit higher in creating their prompts. The first is the role. In other words, I want AI to act as a copywriter. I want it to act as a page designer. I give it a role that I want it to take. I want it to act as a marketing strategist, or a business coach, or a designer. You're basically limiting the direction, the perspective that it's coming from, so it gives you a little bit better response. You can add things to this. Some people will tell you a marketing strategist with 20 years experience in the financial services industry. Again, the better the context, sometimes the better the response of the AI. So the first thing is to give the AI a role. And then the next thing is to give it an aim, a goal. What is it that you want to achieve? What is the final result that you want to have? What is the purpose that you want to achieve? If you give it that aim, that direction, it's going to give you a better result. And then the next is business details, the audience, the goals. All of that we put underneath context, the basic background information that it needs to know in order to give you the best possible answer. And then show it what success looks like. Show it what good looks like. Give it an example. This is what I want. I want it to be similar to this. I want it to be in this format. This is what I think a good report looks like. This is what we call the RACE framework. There are actually a lot of different frameworks for prompting AI. We're not going to go into the details, but we're going to look at how whatever framework you use, you can use it a little bit better. So a very generic prompt might be a social media post. Write me a social media post. What might be a role that we would give the AI for this? If you want the AI to write you a good social media post, what would be its role? What perspective would you want it to come from? What is the expertise that you would want it to have? Anybody have any ideas? You can type it in the chat box. A social media influencer, okay? That's a good one. Depending on your business, your product, your strategy, you might want to write from a social media influencer perspective. A social media writer. A media writer. Any other ideas? Then when I ask it to write a social media post, how can I add to the aim? What might be my aim? What purpose am I writing the post for? Anybody have any ideas? What would be some possible purposes that you might use to give it direction as far as the aim? Anybody want to share in the chat box? The content topic, okay, that's a good one. But even with topic, it's still not quite enough. That's not really a purpose. That's actually more a context. I want to increase engagement. That's actually a purpose. I want to cover a global audience. That's part of the purpose, yes. I want to influence the stakeholders. I want to increase engagement. The aim needs to be what is the outcome that you want to receive. Maximum impressions on the post. And different times you might have a different purpose, a different audience that you're trying to write the post in order to reach. What might be some things for context? What context might it need to have? What are some ideas that you might have for context? If the AI is going to write me a social media post, what are the things that it needs to know? What you want to write about? Okay, maybe a topic or a keyword. Someone else? Who is the audience? Someone else? These are actually great answers. Later on, I'm going to give you some context that will blow your mind, and you'll want to take a screenshot of it. I don't use all of them all the time. Okay, date, location, key takeaways, all these things are possible context. And then the last is, of course, to give it an example. Find the social media posts that have given you the best results and feed them into the AI and say, these are some of my best results, write something like this. So those are all possibilities. So if I look at my race formula, I actually sometimes add another C. What are the constraints? What are the boundaries, the rules, the preferences? So for me, I often use race just as a simple prompt because it's very easy to get started. And I will ask it not only the context and give it what I want, but I also tell it what I do not want. Let me ask you a quick question. How many of you, when you ask AI something, you also tell it what you do not want it to do? Does anyone do that? Type a 1 in the chat box. You not only tell it what you want, but you also tell it what you do not want. I see Ben does that. That's great. No emojis. That's one possibility. So these are all what we call constraints. And those are very useful for getting better results because sometimes there's definite things that we do not want it to do, that we do not want it to include. And a lot of people do not think about this idea. They think about only what they want and not necessarily about what they do not want. If you're prompting well, you usually also have some restraints, some boundaries, some rules, some preferences of things that you don't want. If we're doing okay so far, type good in the chat box because we're getting ready to go up to the next level. If everybody's good so far, let me know that you're good. And we're going to go on and take it a little bit higher now. Okay, thank you for that. Gives me a little bit of feedback. So is this clear to everyone? I hope it's good for you so far. These are some of the foundations. And now we're going to move on to some other things. So we already talked about bad prompts are too vague, no context, no audience, no goal. We talked about some qualities of the good prompt to act as a certain role and to do things a little bit differently. Being specific, giving it clear context, giving it a target audience, a clear goal, the format and tone, desired outcome. All of these things help to give us a better prompt. So instead of writing a social media post about my business, one of the things no one mentioned was which social media, right? An engaging LinkedIn post for my business that is doing AI research that helps people who are new to AI, target audience, understand a specific topic or problem. The goal is to engage them and get them to learn new things, keep it conversational. This is tone, valuable, and under 150 words. Something that no one mentioned earlier was the length of the response that you want. And end with a question to encourage comments. So on the left, you see a very basic prompt that is quite common. On the right, you see one that is much more specific. If this helps, type a 1 in the chat box. If you find this helpful, type a 1 in the chat box. Can you see the difference? The clearer, more specific, the target audience, the clear goal, all of these things make a very, very big difference in the result that you get. You can take a screenshot of this as a template. You can actually add a lot more to this, which I'll show you a little bit detail, but a little bit later. But this gives you a good kind of template for actually a prompt to write a social media post. So one thing to remember about AI is kind of like a mirror. It's going to give you back based on your clarity, your assumptions, your instructions, and your thinking. If things are vague, unclear, you don't put much effort into the prompt itself, the results may not be what you want. But if you're very clear in the details of asking the AI, communicating to the AI clearly, your results will also be much more useful. You get back what you put in. Just take a little bit of time to think about the question, what does the AI need in order to give me the best possible answer? So we already asked this question. Some people do stop after AI gives its first answer. Regardless of the prompt that we're giving it, even if it's a very good prompt, we should never accept the first answer as the best answer. So looking at a different way of answering, there's difference between average results and exceptional results. Most people think one prompt gives me one answer. But actually, if you create a better process, you will get better answers. So you create the prompt, you give it more, then you ask it to clarify certain things, or you clarify with it that this is not correct. You critique and challenge. You ask it to improve, and then you can also repurpose it as well. This is kind of the general process that I often go through when I'm creating a prompt. So I'm gonna kind of go straight into some of the different things that I use. You might want to take a screenshot of some of these. These are some of the things that I love to ask myself before I ask AI. So my very first thing I usually ask myself is, what is my purpose? What do I want to achieve? What's my outcome? What's my desired focus? And then who is it for? And then what information does the AI need to get me the best result? What does it need to know? You must treat it like it doesn't know your information, your detail, your purpose, all of these things. What does it need to know? And I work backwards before going forward. This is like what I said, Aristotle and Socrates and some of the great thinkers talk about first principles, that you look backwards before you go forward. What needs to happen? What needs to be true? What comes first? All the way back to the starting point. Is this useful? Type 1 in the chat box. If this is useful for you, type a 1 in the chat box. Okay, great. Thanks. Let's go on a little bit more. Sometimes you don't know what it needs. This is one of my favorite things. I do this every single time that I create a prompt. At the end of whatever I ask the AI to do for me, I will say, ask me any questions you have. Because sometimes I don't know what it needs to know. This is probably my personal favorite, and it's very, very valuable. If you just tag to the end of any prompt that you create, ask me any question that you have, before it generates the results, it will ask you 1 or 2 questions to clarify what it is not sure about, and you'll get better results. How many have actually done this before? You add to the end of your prompts, ask me any question you have. Does anyone do this? Yeah, I see some people saying yes. Some people ask for multiple choice questions. Okay, I see those. This is actually a very, very powerful technique for getting the most out of AI, because you don't know what it doesn't know. In this way, you give it an opportunity to get better clarity. Very, very powerful. Now, these are my other 3 favorites. Like I said, AI likes to stroke your ego. It likes to give you a quick response. One of my next questions, once it gives me something, I will always ask these 3 questions. 1, what's wrong with it? In other words, instead of asking the AI to give me good responses, to give me good results, this format, I will ask them immediately what is wrong with it, to change the pattern of the thinking, to look for problems. Because normally it's just looking for answers. It's not looking for problems. And so I'll ask it, what is wrong with it? It's very, very powerful. Does anyone ever ask that after you receive something from AI? Ask it what's wrong with it? What's wrong with the result that it gave you? Does anyone do that? Okay, some of you do. That's fantastic. Sometimes someone said, yes, you can also ask another AI tool to evaluate. But if I go to the other AI tool, I might also ask, instead of evaluate, tell me what's wrong with it. Because evaluate is going to maybe potentially tell you what's good, but it won't necessarily tell you what's wrong. Second question that I like to use is, what are the gaps? What is it missing? What is incomplete? Because oftentimes it will leave things out. This is another very, very powerful tool, also one of my favorites. And then I'll ask it, how can I make it better than everyone else? Or how can I make this elite or top 1% or something like that, which will tell me how it can make the answer even better than what is mediocre, average. These are three of my very favorite ways to evaluate any AI response. First, I will ask it, what questions do you need to know? Ask me any question, or ask me 2 or 3 questions. Second is, once I get an answer, I will always ask it, what's wrong? What are the gaps? And how can I make it better than everyone else? I'm challenging it. These are my favorites. If you find this useful, type a 2 in the chat box and let me know that you find it useful. This will actually improve your results dramatically. And then sometimes when it gives me an answer, I'll say, apply your suggestion 1, 2, or 3, maybe still, I don't like the first answer, or I don't like the third answer. I can tell it which things to apply, which things to neglect. So, but if you challenge it this way, you will actually get much better responses from any of the AI. Here's some other things that I like to do. This is something that someone, I don't remember who, mentioned already. I'll ask the same question in another AI. If I'm using Claude, I will ask it in ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity. And just to take note, at the moment, Claude tends to be the more honest of all the different AI in evaluation. I will compare multiple outputs for truth checking or verification. So I'll combine them together and see which one has the best possible. And then sometimes I will also ask follow-up questions to get better answers. Like I said, you might want to take a screenshot of some of these ideas as we go along and just try some of them out and see if they're useful for you. But my favorites still are, ask me anything, what's wrong, what are the gaps, and how can I make it better than everyone else? So here's 𝗓𝗏. This is what I call the prompt stack. Wait a second. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Just a second. Let me share again. Where am I? Okay, sorry. I think I need to play and share again. Okay, you can see my screen, type yes in the chat box. Sorry, tapped the wrong button there. You can see the screen okay, go ahead and type yes. Okay, great. So better questions get better answers. Here's some of the questions that I will often ask AI. Ask me clarifying questions until you're 95% confident you can complete the task successfully. This is a great question. And so it'll keep asking you questions until it's sure that it can give you the best answer. Please ask me any clarifications or for additional information that you need in order to provide me with the best possible response. If you're not 100% sure, say, I don't know, instead of guessing. And then sometimes I will ask the AI to reframe it in a way that changes the way I see the problem. These are all ways that I help to evaluate and give AI better information so it gives me better answers. Explain your reasoning step by step. Give me your source and your reasoning. Someone mentioned your source a little bit earlier, but not just give the source, but also ask for the reasoning. How did it get that answer? What were the assumptions that it considers versus verified information? I will tell it if I'm being vague, generic, or over-extract, pause me and ask for specifics. After answering, review a response and point possible errors and uncertainties. In other words, so I'm telling the AI, as soon as it gives me a response, to evaluate itself. Only answer based on confirmed, widely accepted information. Do not speculate. These are sometimes phrases that I will add in order to make sure that it's giving me correct information. Next in the prompt stamp is actually critique. Question, evaluate, identify. And here's some of the questions. Like I said, what's wrong with this is probably my favorite for the critique. Evaluate this objectively and offer suggestions. What's wrong with this idea or approach? Why might this fail? Especially when I'm looking at business concepts or business ideas, I will ask the AI how it might fail. What are the weaknesses or blind spots? Sometimes I'll say, argue the opposite. In other words, you just told me this is the correct answer. Now argue the opposite so I can see the positives and negatives. If you're a critic or competitor, how would you tear this down? And then what are the gaps or the potential liabilities of this? I've kind of mentioned some of those earlier. Those all help as well in order to critically evaluate what the AI gives you. I see Ben's got some other responses in there as well. Pushback, set the table. All these are other ways of looking at it. Number 8, from now on, don't validate my ideas by default. Challenge me. Point out weak logic, lazy assumptions, or echo chamber thinking. Next one is one of my other favorites, what I call expert review. If you could hire any expert to help you give this answer, who would it be? Then ask the AI to take on that role. But this first one is probably one of my favorites. I wonder how many of you have used number 1. Evaluate this result from a panel of experts. Has anybody ever used that? If you used it, just type a yes in the chat box, let me know. Okay, I see some have used it. It's actually very, very powerful because the AI will think, okay, what are the 3 or 4 or maybe 5 experts that would be the best person to evaluate? So when it evaluates, for example, your social media post, it might have a LinkedIn expert, it might have a call to action expert, it might have a copywriting expert, it might have an image evaluation expert. It will give you different types of experts. This is very, very useful to evaluate. What would an experienced marketer strategist say about it? What would a top tier critic point out? Rate it from 1 to 10 and tell me how you got this score. What would the top 0.1% person in this field think? Who are the top 3 thought leaders for this and how would they evaluate? I can even tell it, evaluate this from the perspective of a real estate agent, of a customer, and use specific ideas of people to evaluate. This is very, very useful. If you're not doing number 1, this is probably one of the fastest ways you can start improving your results. Sometimes I ask for feedback, list the positives and the negatives, the pros and the cons, what's good and bad. Be constructive in your criticism of the idea. And then we want to improve. We want to refine it. We want to increase the impact, to strengthen it, to make it better. How can this be improved is one of the answers I often ask AI. What's missing? What can be more practical or more actionable? Simplify it to its simplest form. When I get an idea, ask 3 questions to go deeper than surface level. These are all different questions I have that I may use from time to time. The last is validate. This is something we talked about at the beginning. This is where your experience, your knowledge, your time on the job really makes a big difference. What's an idea that you had that sounded good that failed? We've all had some of these ideas. I won't probe on this at the moment, but many times AI also has ideas that are good, but also can fail miserably. And so you need to probe it and evaluate. Is this practical? What are the risks? What's the simplest version that will work? Give me a step-by-step plan. Validate or prove your answer with logic and data. Cite your sources. Somebody mentioned that earlier. So these are all ideas for testing and making sure that you're able to validate what is given to you as a response. Challenge the assumptions, challenge the blind spots, look for things objectively, make it better. Tell me your best business idea. How might this fail? Is this a dumb idea? Be brutally honest. Let's argue. Why is this wrong? Fight this idea from a different angle. Take the devil advocate approach. So in other words, I challenge and debate the AI, or get it to challenge and debate itself. Here's some of my favorite shortcuts. This is something you can definitely take a screenshot of and put into your toolbox of things that you can use. These will pretty much work at any of the AIs, whether it's Gemini, ChatGPT. Before you type anything, just put /ask_me, or at the end of your request, put /ask_me. It will ask you questions. /expert, things like a specialist, /more ideas, /explore different angles. 10x this. Suggest. A lot of times when AI may ask you a question and you don't know how to answer, suggest. Evaluate. Number 8 is actually a term for people who are testing things to see how they can fail. It's called red team. If you ask it to red team, it will actually look for weaknesses in what is given you as information. /decide, recommended answer. TLDR, summarize what matters. Give me the top level information that I need to know, the most important information. ELI5, explain it simply. Explain it like a 5-year-old is basically what it stands for. And /examples, show what good looks like. These are actually some very powerful, simple ideas and things that you can do and add to your prompts that will help you to get better results. Here's my actual process. I will always start with an ask me. I will always ask it to act as an expert. Once it gives me some ideas, I will always ask it to give me 2 or 3 more ideas and evaluate them. I will ask it to explore different angles. I will do the 10x, give me bigger, better, bolder ideas. I'll ask it to suggest which response is best and why. Evaluate itself or evaluate from a panel of experts. /red team, /decide, /TLDR. Explain it simple and clear like to a 5-year-old and give me some examples. So these are all some of the steps that I typically go through. And the more critical the question, the more critical the information, the more focused I am on asking something. You don't have to ask exactly like this. The slash command is not required, but all the AIs will actually recognize it. Like I said, number 10, somebody's asking TLDR is basically top level, distill it to the main points. ELI5 is explain it like I'm a 5-year-old. In other words, put it in very, very simple terms so it's very easy to understand. So these are all useful. I don't use them all the time, but I do often use them. They're very, very common when I'm prompting AI. So here's my ultimate prompt. This is where this one you probably will want to take a screenshot of. I don't use this all the time, but if I'm creating something that's very elaborate, this is my basically roadmap. What's the purpose? Who am I? What is my role? What's the AI's role, the AI's approach, and who's it for? It's not just who the AI acts as, but it needs to know who I am and why, what my role is, so they can actually give me better responses as well. A lot of people forget that aspect. What is the task? What are the requirements? What are the constraints? What are the assumptions that AI should consider true? What are some frameworks? For example, I'm a marketer. I might want to have the before-after grid. I might want to have the customer value journey. I might want to use the ideal customer profile. I might want to use different tools and frameworks and strategies to get the best result. Where is it going to be used? What is the output I want? The format, the length? Are some AIs will allow you to give it instructions on temperature? In other words, how creative it's going to be? What is the writing style, the tone, the character, the voice? Does it write in first person, second person, third person? Do I have a brand guide? Sometimes I will just pop in a brand guide or a style guide that I've created. In fact, I teach a weekly AI lab here in Singapore, and it's a Zoom call. And just last week, we talked about how to create your style guide. In other words, how to create a writing style that you can just pop into AI every single time, copy paste, and it will start to write exactly like you. That's one of the things I taught last week. Every week, I teach them one idea, one concept, one tool that will help them to be more successful at AI. What's the language it should be in? What are some examples? Context. What's the topic, the service, or product? What are the keywords or key phrases, critical facts? What does the audience need? What does it expect? What supporting information? What are the less critical details? What resources? I might say, use jobs to be done. I may say, I want to use Cialdini's persuasion book as a resource for creating my call to actions. There may be a primary book or resource or reference material that I use. I review, evaluate, revise, refine some of those things that we just did. I showed you how to do some of those, evaluate from different roles, perspectives, and then I can also repurpose. Different place, different use, different audience. All these things are also possibilities. So this is kind of my ultimate roadmap. I don't use it every time. It's not always 100% necessary, but does that give you some ideas on how to be more clear with AI? If it gives you some other ideas you haven't thought of, type a 1 in the chat box and let me know. Is this useful to you? Type a 1 in the chat box. Okay, great. Thanks for all of those. Of course, there might be some other things as well, but this is kind of my ultimate checklist. If I've done this, my answers can be a lot more effective. So what we're going to do now is, I believe we have a question and answer coming up. But before we go on to that, what was the one thing that you learned during this session that was an aha, a light bulb moment that you hadn't thought of before? Does anyone have any of those? What is one thing that you learned that you can start using this week? Type in the chat box, let me know. One thing that was an aha moment, something new to you, something that you learned. Okay, getting the AI to ask questions. Anyone else? Hopefully you all got at least one or two new ideas. I hope that that's the case for you, that you learned something you can use, how to critique prawns, evaluate like a panel of experts. So hopefully you grabbed one skill, one idea that maybe you weren't using so far, that can actually help you to get better answers from AI. Some of you got some affirmations. That's great. You're doing some things well. Okay. AI is a skill. It's something that the more we do it, the more we practice, the better we're going to be at it. We need to remember to think clearly, to ask better questions, to challenge assumptions, and just to keep generating reiteratively responses until we get the answer that we really want. Like I said, agentic is probably the next step. This still applies to agentic as well because they're based on skill sets and prompts. With agentic, you can create employees that will do certain things for you, business systems, but all of the things that are listed here actually start out with prompting. My own personal reason for focusing on prompting rather than specific AIs is actually that's kind of the basis for everything that is building going forward. Learning how to ask the questions, to be clear, to communicate exactly, to probe and do some of these things, all will make the agentic much better as we start to approach that situation. If you would like to join me for my weekly class, it's on Thursday, Singapore time at 8 p.m. every night until 8:45 or so. Here's a QR code. It's free. Basically, I every week teach a different tool, a different skill, a different idea that people can use immediately. It doesn't cost you anything. You can take this QR and join me. This week, we're actually talking about how to take a photo of any product and convert it into a marketing video with just a simple prompt. Every week it's something along those lines. Would love for you to join me if you're interested. Right now we're going to go to questions and answers. So does anyone have any questions? If you have any question, you can just type it in the chat box and I'll be very happy to answer any questions you might have. Okay, someone's asking about organizational policies. There's actually two tools that I would probably use for this type of thing. One of them is called NotebookLM. NotebookLM is actually created by Google. You can use it for free. In NotebookLM, you can actually create a folder. You can dump in all of your policies, your documents, everything else. It'll create a specialized folder with that information. And then you can ask it any question. And instead of basing its answer on AI, it will base its answer on what is in that folder that you created. So I'll put in all my terms and conditions, any customer service things I have, any manuals, anything I have about my company, I will drop it into that folder, and then it becomes a great resource to find out information. Another tool that I would probably use is Claude. Claude allows you to create a project folder. A project folder is a restricted folder on your desktop or on your computer. You can put anything in that folder, and then you can ask Claude to use that folder to generate responses. So those are two things that I might use for that purpose for the person who had the question about organizational policies. Anybody else have any other questions? If there's no other questions, then I'll turn that back over to our hosts. Thank you very much for joining. I hope that this has been useful for you. I believe that they also posted my LinkedIn profile. You can contact me through there if you would wish. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for participating. Your participation made this much more useful. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you very much for delivering such an insightful session today. So your practical perspective on getting the most out of AI tools, especially prompt design, were greatly appreciated. And I believe this is definitely going to be helpful for all the professionals out there who joined us today. So really, thank you so much for your insightful session. And I can see there was a lot of interaction. So keep up the same encouragement, guys. And thank you so much for asking amazing questions and attending today's session. So before I take the handover back, do you have any final thoughts, as you have already shared such amazing prompt, but still any final thoughts?
Actually, like I said previously, it's a matter of practice. Of my favorite still is ask me any questions that you might have. I always add that to the end of every single prompt. And then my three favorites are what's wrong, what's missing, what's the gap, and how can I make this better? If you remember nothing else, those are very, very powerful.
Perfect. Thank you so much for such an insightful thought. And those who are asking for the PPT, please write to me directly at pritham@gsdcouncil.org, and I'm happy to share the PPT with you once we get the approval. Thank you so much, everyone. As do have some closing announcement for all of you. So this is regarding the certification program. I believe many of you already aware. We do have offerings in all this certification program in the GSDC. You can use this promo code, which is AI20 to get 20% discount. So you can go for AI Foundation, AI Tool Mastery and Agentic AI, AI Domain Specialist, AI Strategic Integrated, AI Guardian, and AI Change Evangelist, right? So feel free to reach out to a learning advisor for any further assistance with the certification program. And this is utility tool. So basically this tool will help you to level up your profile. It will give you an improvement tips to level up your LinkedIn profile score, your AI skill score. Also, it will help you to build your personal brand. And this tool has a feature where it will help you to create AI generated resumes. Feel free to use this AUG100 as a code to get 100% off, which means absolutely free. And this is only for our webinar attendees. So grab this opportunity and check this out. And here's a quick announcement regarding our ongoing track, which is happening in the GSDC, which is operational excellence through governance, compliance, and standards. So we have this incredible panel of ISO experts joining us to share the insights from for this week. We have this scheduled from 22nd till 26th June. So do join us for the rest of the sessions with a different time slot, which is at 10:30 p.m. Singapore. And I have already shared the registration link in the chat box. And this is our another track, which is happening on empowering tomorrow's workforce through learning and leadership. We have these industry experts who will be joining us to share the insights. So please do join us for the rest of the sessions, which is scheduled this week with a different time slot, which is 11:30 p.m. Singapore. So maybe set up a reminders for yourself, as we have tracks on 3 different time zones, right? So I have already shared the registration link for this as well in the chat box. So feel free to register yourself if you haven't, or refer your friends and colleagues. And I'm very happy to make the announcement of the spotlight of the week. We have Manish Kumar and Karim Bennett. They have shared their experiences through our previous session. So please, I would like to request you all to share your learning experiences, your learning takeaways from today's session. Tag Kane and tag GSDC as well. That's how we'll get the visibility, and we'll be picking up one of the best experience that we find on the social media. And of course, we'll be giving that professional a fame and recognition across social platform and live shot out during our webinar. webinar sessions, right? So please do share your learning stories, and let's inspire others as well to join our sessions. And this is our referral champions who have referred maximum people to this series. Let's congratulate to them and let's appreciate them for referring maximum people to our session, like powerful and knowledgeable sessions, right? So please do refer maximum people. By doing that, you can earn rewards, which is worth $400. And top 3 winners will be featured on the GSDC Wall of Fame as well. So it's very simple. You just have to earn 50 points, right? More than 50 points will be getting back to all the winners who have earned 50 and more than 50 points with the rewards, which I mentioned earlier, which is worth $400. And thank you so much, everyone, for attending today's session. Hope the session was so helpful for all of you. And I request you all to please drop your reviews on reviews.io. I've already shared the link in the chat box. We would love to hear from all of you. Thank you so much. I look forward to have you all join for our rest of the session, which is scheduled this week. And thank you so much, Ken, for your insightful session. We look forward to have you also join for our upcoming sessions, future sessions. Thank you.